Kobe or LeBron. You were a fan of one or you were a fan of the other. Just like all player rivalries in sports, from Magic versus Bird to Brady versus Manning or Ronaldo versus Messi, you had to pick a side. On one hand, you had Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba, a three-time champion with the Lakers, one of the greatest scorers in NBA history, and one of the most clutch players in NBA history. On the other hand was LeBron James, the King, the most hyped high school prospect in sports history who somehow was exceeding expectations. Regardless of what side you were on, if you watched the NBA from 2007 to 2013, you wanted to see these guys match up in the NBA Finals. They were the two best players in the league by far. One was the established champion, having already climbed the mountain. The other was the up-and-comer, still seeking his first taste of glory. It was quite literally supposed to be the finals matchup of our generation, and one we all thought we'd see plenty of times. So why didn't it happen even once? Before we get into the video though, consider leaving a like on the video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell so you never miss out on one of our videos. Our story begins in the 2007 NBA offseason. LeBron is coming off his first finals appearance where he was swept by the San Antonio Spurs, while Kobe had just been knocked out of the 2007 playoffs by the Phoenix Suns for the second straight year. While LeBron's career was on an upward trajectory, having gone from missing the playoffs in 2005 to the NBA Finals in 2007, Kobe's career was stagnating a little bit, and his relationship with the Lakers was deteriorating. Sure, he had scored plenty of points, but he had run Shaq off, he alienated his new teammates, and he failed to deliver as the Lakers' leading star. The frustration was mutual, and in 2007, Kobe actually demanded a trade from the Lakers. The Lakers, of course, were reluctant to move Kobe, but not unwilling. And during that summer, they did something interesting. They placed a call to Cleveland and asked the Cavs about a potential Kobe for LeBron trade. The Cavaliers' response was, and I'm paraphrasing here, no, although they did counter the Lakers by offering them basically anything else on their roster in exchange for Kobe. The Lakers said no. The Lakers flirted with a few other teams, most notably the Chicago Bulls, but in the end, they took a pretty big risk and they decided to keep Kobe. Turns out, good choice. The Lakers raced out to the best record in the Western Conference, aided by the improvements of third-year big man Andrew Bynum and the midseason trade for Pau Gasol. Kobe won league MVP, and with his improved supporting cast, the Lakers dispatched the Nuggets, Jazz, and Spurs on their way to the NBA Finals, losing only 3 games in the process. LeBron's Cavs, on the other hand, well, now it was their turn to stagnate. The Cavs, like they'd been in years prior, were a one-man show on offense, with LeBron averaging 30 and no other Cavalier averaging even half that. To improve their scoring troubles, the Cavs sent out their third and fourth leading scorers, Larry Hughes and Drew Gooden. In exchange, they received Wally Szczerbiak, Delonte West, and offensive juggernaut Ben Wallace. Both Szczerbiak and West averaged less points than Hughes and Gooden did, and while Wallace was still serviceable on defense, he was far removed from his glory days in Detroit. The Cavs regressed to a 45-37 record, and after dispatching the Wizards in the first round for a third consecutive year, they matched up against the Big Three Boston Celtics. Despite the Celtics winning 21 more games than the Cavs in the regular season, the series was incredibly competitive, including one of the greatest dunks of LeBron's career in Game 4. All-time great call, too.
Screen, Posey will defend. Oh! LeBron James with no regard for human life!
Spurred on by the play of LeBron and their suffocating defense, the Cavs pushed the Celtics all the way to Game 7 in Boston. In one of the best superstar duels in recent memory, LeBron and Paul Pierce went at each other in Game 7, with LeBron dropping 45 and Pierce dropping 41. Ultimately, though, the Celtics were too much for Cleveland, and the Cavs were eliminated in Game 7. That Celtics team would go on to meet Kobe's Lakers in the NBA Finals. After dropping both games in Boston, the Lakers returned to LA and took Game 3 before building a 24-point lead in Game 4. The Celtics, however, were unfazed and mounted one of the greatest comebacks in NBA playoff history to snatch Game 4 and take a 3-1 series lead. The Lakers staved off elimination in Game 5, but were utterly embarrassed in Game 6 back in Boston, as the Celtics completed the greatest single-season turnaround in NBA history and won their 17th championship. But while 2008 was the first time that Kobe and LeBron were both on playoff contending teams, 2009 was the first time that a finals matchup looked not just realistic, but likely. The Cavaliers finally gave LeBron a co-player in Mo Williams, and they raced out to 66 wins in the regular season. Included in those 66 wins was a 39-2 record at home, a record that in NBA history is only bested by the 40-1 home record of the 1986 Boston Celtics. By the way, if you're curious what those two losses were, one of them was the last game of the season against Philadelphia when they rested LeBron, and the other one was against the Lakers. Speaking of the Lakers, they basically ran back the same roster as the year prior, now with a full season of Pau Gasol, and with Andrew Bynum being healthier, they racked up 65 wins. Also worth pointing out that during this season, Nike began running their MV Puppets commercials, featuring puppets of Kobe and LeBron living together and all the hijinks that ensues.
Why do we live together?
These were, and I think this is something that we can all agree on, the greatest sports commercials ever produced. There have been some great sports commercials, don't get me wrong, but these are just on another level.
Hello? Who is it? Oh, yes.
Who is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
LeBron, who is it?
Yes, ma'am. That was Mrs. Lewis from downstairs. She said, "You ain't got no defense."
The jokes, the puppets, the reoccurring gags, everything about them are perfect. Helps that LeBron picked up his first MVP by season's end, so the commercials were no longer lying to you. But by the end of the regular season, a Lakers versus Cavaliers NBA Finals seemed all but inevitable. The Lakers were by far the best team in the West, and after an injury to Kevin Garnett, the Cavs' path through the East got a whole lot easier. Compared to the previous year, though, the Lakers' playoff journey was a little bit more difficult. They had little trouble with Utah in the first round, but then were taken to 7 in the second round by a scrappy Rockets team missing both Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady before defeating Carmelo Anthony and the Denver Nuggets in the conference finals in 6 games. The Cavaliers, on the other hand, seemed unstoppable in the playoffs. They swept the Pistons and Hawks in the first 2 rounds, winning 8 straight games by an average of nearly 17 points per game. In the conference finals, the Cavs met Dwight Howard and the Orlando Magic, who had just knocked off the Celtics in 7 games. And game 1 of this series seemed like it was going to be more of the same. The Cavs raced out to a 15-point halftime lead, capped by a Mo Williams buzzer beater from the opposite 3-point line. In the second half, however, the Cavs offense reverted to what it had been the prior year, LeBron or bust. LeBron shot 9 of 14 in the second half and dropped 23 points, while his teammates shot only 8 of 23 and scored only 20 points. And while their offense was stalling, their defense was crumbling. The Magic scored 59 points in the second half on 59% shooting, including 7 of 13 shooting from 3. The Magic chipped away at the deficit for the whole second half before finally taking the lead for good on a Rashard Lewis 3-pointer. For just the 3rd time all year, the Cavaliers lost a game at home. Game 2 was the same story as Game 1, as the Cavs raced out to a 23-point first half lead. And once again, the Cavs defense fell apart, and in the second half, the Magic stormed all the way back to take the lead with just 1 second to go. The Cavs had one final chance to avoid going to Orlando down 0-2 in the series.
Gets it to LeBron for 3 for the win. Yes! LeBron James at the buzzer!
Still to this day, one of the greatest buzzer beaters in NBA history. Sure, the series was tied 1-1 heading to Orlando, but Cleveland had all the momentum on their side, and all they had to do was get 1 win on the road, and they got their home court advantage back. Easier said than done. LeBron put up 40 plus in both games in Orlando, but never got more than 18 points from any of his teammates. The Cavs lost both games in Orlando and now trailed the series 3-1. Game 5 back in Cleveland, you know the drill. The Cavs race out to a huge lead, this time a 22-point lead in the first quarter. They forget there isn't a mercy rule in basketball and their defense shuts down. The Magic come all the way back and we have a close game.
As we take a break, stay tuned for world premiere footage from Modern Warfare 2 coming November 10th.
14 years later, and I'm still scarred from this. This time, the Cavs managed to pull off the win, thanks in large part to a 17-point fourth quarter by LeBron. Game 6 was the last hope for the Cavaliers to extend the series, but in the end, they just didn't have enough. They got more balanced scoring in Game 7, but LeBron couldn't put up the same numbers he had earlier in the series, and Dwight Howard's 40-point, 14-rebound performance ensured a Magic victory. The Magic advanced to their second ever NBA Finals, where they met Kobe's Lakers. Although they nearly stole Game 2 in LA on a perfect alley-oop to Courtney Lee, the Magic were completely overmatched, and they fell in a relatively easy 5-game series. And just like that, Kobe had silenced all his doubters and delivered another championship to Los Angeles. Okay, so we didn't get LeBron versus Kobe in the 2009 finals. That's frustrating, but 2010, this could be the year, right? Come on, this is the year. The Lakers were coming off their championship, and they only got stronger, adding Ron Artest in free agency. The Cavaliers, well, with LeBron a year away from free agency and rumors that he may entertain leaving, the Cavs pushed all their chips to the center, and they traded for 37-year-old Shaq. They also traded for Antoine Jameson at midseason, giving up basically nothing, although rumors persist that they could have had Amari Stoudemire if they were willing to include J.J. Hickson in the package. They were not. This season also saw the first of several Kobe-LeBron matchups on Christmas, with the first round going to LeBron, pretty decisively, might I add. Both the Lakers and Cavs ran through the league again, locking up the top seeds in their conferences for a second straight year, with LeBron also picking up his second straight MVP award. The Lakers knocked off the upstart Thunder in the first round and swept the Jazz in round 2. God, poor Utah, 3 straight years getting knocked out by the Lakers. In the conference finals, Phoenix put up a good fight, but Kobe and co were too much, and the Lakers advanced to their 3rd straight NBA finals. LeBron's Cavs? Right. They had no trouble with Chicago in round 1, but in round 2, they met the Celtics again. They split the first 2 games in Cleveland. The Cavs took game 1, but got smacked in game 2. The Cavs then struck back with a dominant game 3 win, led by a LeBron masterclass. The rest of the series was less good for the Cavs. Rondo led the Celtics to a game 4 win with a ridiculous 29-point, 13-assist, 18-rebound triple-double. Game 5 back in Cleveland was, up to this point, the worst moment of LeBron's career because, fun fact, it got worse. The Cavs were dominated by the Celtics, and LeBron played horribly, scoring only 15 points on 3 of 14 shooting. Back in Boston for Game 6, the Cavs actually led the Celtics 54-51 in the 3rd quarter, but a 16-4 run put the Celtics up for good. The Celtics knocked off the Cavs for the 2nd time in 3 years, and LeBron had to watch as Kobe defeated those same Celtics in the NBA Finals. This time, the Lakers held home court advantage, and after a hard-fought 7-game series, including an incredible Game 7, the Lakers prevailed, giving Kobe his 2nd consecutive championship. That leads us to the summer of 2010, probably the most hyped free agency class in NBA history. LeBron, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Dirk Nowitzki, Yao Ming, Joe Johnson, Amari Stoudemire, Carlos Boozer, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Rudy Gay, David Lee, all were up for grabs. The Cavs, however, were far more worried about retaining their current star than going out and signing new ones. Long story short, LeBron met with 6 teams before eventually deciding on the Miami Heat, joining Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and forming the NBA's newest super team. If you want to hear more about the decision, we got a video for that already, links down in the description. The Lakers responded to this monumental shift in the landscape of the NBA by signing Matt Barnes. Good stuff. The Lakers' regular season was fairly run-of-the-mill, 57 wins for a 2nd straight year, although for the first time since 2007, they didn't have the best record in the West, with the Spurs beating them out, winning 61 games. Out East, LeBron's Heat got off to a slow 9-8 start before winning 21 of their next 22 games. Still, the Heat, like the Lakers, didn't have the best record in their conference, with the Chicago Bulls winning 62 games. We also got Kobe and LeBron on Christmas too, and once again, LeBron wins in a blowout. The Heat waltzed through the Eastern Conference, knocking off the 76ers, Celtics, and Bulls on their way to LeBron's 2nd NBA Finals. Now, for the past 3 seasons, it was LeBron who wasn't holding up his side of the deal, so of course now it was Kobe's turn. The Lakers beat the Hornets in round 1, but shockingly got swept in round 2 by the Dallas Mavericks, including being absolutely obliterated in game 4 in Phil Jackson's last game as Lakers coach. Kobe was excellent in game 1 when he dropped 36, but he was pretty awful the rest of the series, and he could only watch as the Mavericks rained in 23s in game 4. The Mavericks eventually finished up the greatest championship run in NBA history when they knocked off Miami in the new worst moment of LeBron's career. Alright, so LeBron finally got to the finals, but Kobe just ran into Dirk when he was in God mode. Not ideal, but they can meet next year, right? Well, the Lakers offseason didn't really go as planned. I guess no one's offseason went as planned because, lockout, but the Lakers offseason was especially troubled. The Lakers, in an effort to keep up with the Spurs and the fast-rising Thunder, put together a 3-team trade that would have landed them the best point guard in the NBA, Chris Paul. In return, the Lakers would send out Lamar Odom to New Orleans and Pau Gasol to Houston. One problem. The NBA technically owned the Hornets at the time, and by the way, a league owning one of their own teams, just all sorts of conflicts of interest right there. Anyway, David Stern, who was acting as Hornets president of basketball operations, vetoed the trade for quote-unquote basketball reasons. Apparently, the NBA felt the trade would have made the Hornets a playoff team, but not a contender, which they felt would be less attractive to a potential new owner. Dumb logic to me, but I guess that's why I don't own an NBA team. Odom apparently felt disrespected by the attempt to trade him, and he demanded a trade away from the Lakers, getting his wish only 3 days later when he was sent to Dallas in exchange for a first-round pick and a trade exception. The Heat's offseason, if you ignore the crushing media scrutiny for losing to the Mavericks, was much calmer. They ran it back with basically the same roster, although they did pick up Shane Battier in free agency. The Heat had a solid regular season, winning 46 games, although yet again they weren't the top seed in the East, with the Bulls beating them out by 4 games, although LeBron did pick up MVP number 3. The Lakers, well, their regular season was a little bit tougher. The Lakers hovered around the middle of the playoff pack into March before settling into the 3rd seed behind San Antonio and Oklahoma City. In round 1, the Lakers faced off against the Denver Nuggets in their first full season without Carmelo Anthony. Or not full season. I don't know. First season he was on the roster from beginning to end. The Lakers took a 3-1 lead, but they let the Nuggets hang around, and eventually they got pushed to 7 games. The Lakers looked vulnerable in this series, and in the second round, they faced the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that they had just defeated in the first round only 2 years prior. But this was a different Thunder team. They took game 1 at home by 29 and then roared back from a 7-point deficit with 2 minutes to go to win game 2 as well. The Lakers got back in the series with a game 3 win, but in game 4, the Lakers melted. They led by 13 with 8 minutes to go, but were outscored 25-9 the rest of the way, and the Thunder took a 3-1 lead heading back to Oklahoma City. Despite 42 from Kobe in game 5, the Lakers stood no chance against that Thunder team in front of that crowd, and they went out in the second round for the 2nd consecutive year. Miami's playoff run was also not without its bumps. The Heat beat New York in round 1 before defeating Indiana in a hard-fought 6-game series in round 2. The Heat advanced to the conference finals, where once again, LeBron met the Boston Celtics. The two teams split the first 4 games before the Celtics shocked the Heat in game 5, winning on the road and taking a 3-2 lead in the series. That would lead us to LeBron's game 6 in Boston, and simply calling this performance legendary doesn't do it justice. With the big 3 of the Heat potentially on the verge of being broken up, LeBron scored 45 points, grabbed 15 rebounds, and dished out 5 assists, beating Boston almost single-handedly. Game 7 was tight for the first 3 quarters, but the big 3 heated up in the 4th, with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh combining to score all 28 of their team's points in the final period, while the Celtics went cold. The Heat were off to their 2nd straight NBA Finals, where they were set to face, oh hey Oklahoma City, it's been a while. The Thunder took game 1, but were overmatched in the rest of the series, and were buried under a barrage of Mike Miller 3-pointers in game 5, as LeBron finally captured his first championship. Okay, so that's 5 seasons so far, but surely this year, right? LeBron's got his first championship, so he's got that monkey off his back. The Celtics were another year older, and they had lost Ray Allen to Miami, and Derrick Rose was set to miss the entire season with a torn ACL. The Lakers, on the other hand, went out and had one of the most memorable off seasons in recent memory, if not NBA history. The Lakers had hit the wall in round 2 their past couple of seasons, and so they were looking to make some big swings. And boy did they! In July, the Lakers traded a collection of draft picks to Phoenix for Steve Nash, and a month later, they shipped out Andrew Bynum and a first-round pick in exchange for Dwight Howard. The Heat were going into this season stronger than ever, while the Lakers had given Kobe the best center in the NBA by far, and one of the best passers in league history to run the offense. A matchup between these two teams in the NBA Finals was all but guaranteed. And then they started playing the games. Okay, look, the Heat, they held up their end of the bargain. They roared off to 66 wins, including that incredible 27-game winning streak, and LeBron picked up his 4th MVP. The Lakers, yikes. They got off to a 1-4 start before firing head coach Mike Brown, always a positive sign when you fire a coach 5 games into a season. The Lakers originally contacted Phil Jackson about the opening, But when he asked for 2 days to consider it, the Lakers just said, fuck him, and they continued their search. In the end, they swapped out one Mike for another, bringing in former Suns coach Mike D'Antoni. Maybe this is a hot take, but this was one of the worst hires in NBA history. Not because D'Antoni's a bad coach, because he's not. It's just his style did not fit this team at all. Let's take a quick look at this roster. 34-year-old Kobe, 32-year-old Pau Gasol, 38-year-old Steve Nash, 33-year-old Ron Artest, 36-year-old Antoine Jameson, 32-year-old Steve Blake. Oh, Dwight Howard was only 27, but he was also coming off serious back surgery. The last thing this team needed to do was to run an up-tempo, fast break-oriented offense where they're encouraged to shoot within 7 seconds. The Lakers continued to struggle even after the coaching change because while their offense did get a little better, they still had a whole bunch of other problems. Gasol and Nash were in and out of the lineups with injuries, Dwight and Gasol struggled to gel, the team seriously lacked shooters, and 34-year-old Kobe Bryant was second in the NBA in minutes played per game, trailing only Luol Deng. The Lakers got a little better as the season went on, but their championship hopes took a killing blow on April 12th in their third to last game of the year when Kobe tore his Achilles tendon driving to the basket. Still, the Lakers made the playoffs only to be unceremoniously swept by the Spurs in the first round. The Heat, on the other hand, had little issue with the Bucks or Bulls in rounds 1 and 2 before knocking off the Pacers in 7 in the conference finals and playing an all-time great NBA finals against the Spurs, including arguably the greatest game in NBA history in Game 6, beating them in 7 to repeat as champions. And it was at this point that the chance to see a Kobe-LeBron NBA Finals ended for good. LeBron was still the best player in the world, but Kobe missed almost the entire next season with injuries, and even when he returned in 2015, he wasn't the same player. Couple that with the Lakers' complete inability to surround Kobe with even some semblance of a supporting cast, and it was over. A rivalry that was built up by fans, by media, by the league itself. Hell, they made commercials about it, and we never got to see it in the finals even once. But why? Honestly, and this might just be the most unfortunate part, just kind of seems like bad luck.
Hammond?
Yes, mate.
May. Bad luck.
From 2007 to 2014, either Kobe or LeBron made the finals. 3 times for Kobe, 5 times for LeBron. And yet they missed each other every single time. When Kobe ruled the Western Conference, LeBron was still by himself in Cleveland. When LeBron moved on to Miami and ruled the East, new powers had supplanted the Lakers in the West. This was supposed to be the rivalry that defined a generation. These two were supposed to do battle in the finals year after year after year. Instead, it's the greatest missed opportunity in NBA history. That's the video, guys. How will you remember the Kobe-LeBron rivalry? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, why not hit that like button, as it really does help us out. And hey, while you're here, why not check out some of our other videos as well? And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.